Okay, I'm going to be demonstrating the proper way to weld two pieces of metal together using just welding rod and jumper cables and batteries. Most of this equipment you're already going to have in your vehicle if you're out on the trail. Every vehicle's got a battery, and if you got more than one guy in your party, then obviously you'll have two batteries. A set of jumper cables, everyone should have a set of those. A pair of vice grips for holding the welding rod, just because the clamps on jumper cables really don't hold the welding rod very good. You need a piece of wire to wire the two batteries in series. You can use a second set of jumper cables for this, but I like to just keep a short length of 4-gauge battery cable in my toolbox. You're going to need a welding helmet. Since I'm in the shop, I've got my auto darkening welding helmet here, but you can just get a cheap Harbor Freight one and throw it in your toolbox. And then of course a fire extinguisher, just because the grass on trails and hot welding sparks don't mix. You definitely don't want to start a fire. So with all this equipment right here, all you got to do is throw in a couple of welding rods and the welding helmet to the gear you already have, and you just added the capability of welding on the trail. Okay, to set this up, you're going to want to disconnect the batteries from both vehicles. You don't want the voltage spikes that go along with welding going through your vehicle's electrical system. Microelectronics and computers definitely don't like that. So once you got the batteries disconnected, you need to wire them in series so you can get your 24 volts. So I've got my battery cable here, and all I do is connect that from the positive terminal of one battery to the negative terminal of the other one. And you definitely want to make sure that your connections are tight, because you're going to be passing potentially a couple hundred amps through this, and a loose connection will melt down your battery terminals on your battery, possibly damage your battery and the cable, and may start a fire as well. So definitely make sure these connections are tight. Okay, once you get your batteries out of the vehicles and hooked up, you're going to go ahead and hook up your jumper cables. You're going to hook the negative cable up to the negative terminal on one battery, and the positive cable up to the positive terminal on the other battery. Now, on the ends of the jumper cables, you're going to want to take your vice grips and hook it up to the negative terminal, and we're going to use our positive terminal to clamp to our workpiece that we're going to be welding on. This polarity is really important. If you do it the other way around, you're not going to get a good weld at all. You're going to get a bunch of splatter, and you're just not going to get the two pieces of metal to stick together. So this is called DC electronegative welding. Using this process is a little bit different from normal stick welding. So even if you're familiar with stick welding, you should probably try this in your shop before you rely on it out on the trail. Because we're using essentially a constant voltage source for welding, the arc is a little bit different than what you'd be used to with normal stick welding. So I'm going to go ahead and take my electrode and clamp it here in the vice grips. And just for example, I have a set of brake rotors that's right here. We're going to go ahead and weld these together. Go ahead and ground my workpiece here. And I'll go ahead and lay a couple of practice beads on top of the brake rotors right here, and then I'll go ahead and just lay a couple of short beads on the ends to actually stick the two of them together. And we'll go ahead and use a brush to clean this stuff up. And as you can see, these two pieces are stuck together pretty good now. Okay, and you can see the sample welds I did up here. They're actually pretty clean. I got a little bit of splatter. And then I got my welds right here that are actually holding the two pieces together. I got this one here and this one right here, and they actually came out pretty clean. They're pretty good looking welds. Okay, as you can see, with just the addition of a couple of small pieces of equipment to your toolbox, you can add the ability to weld out on the trail. And that's definitely really handy if you're a long ways away from your shop. So I hope this was useful for everyone.
Hi everyone, Godfather Prepper, and if you're like me, stuff breaks at the most inopportune times. Here's a wood trailer that's coming apart on me, and I need to patch it, but it did not break up at the, or down at the shop. It broke up at the house, and I've got a little bit of snow down there and stuff in front of the shed. It'd be really a pain in the rear to drag the welding stuff out and patch it. So I came up with an alternative, and that is a micro welder that I can fix this with, and it was incredibly easy to build. I didn't pay a penny for any of it. It's all scrounged parts, and let's just see how it works. Okay, there we go. That should hold, get me through the season. Let me show you what this thing is. Boy, when I say micro, I'm not kidding. That's all it is. There's 4 little 5 amp hour batteries put together in series. Now, first thing you're thinking is, well, I got a lot of welding to do. Absolutely. I didn't want to haul 4 car batteries out, and I wanted to see if this would work, and sure enough it did. In fact, I tested it. It'll go through an entire rod. Now that's the whole key to this setup. These little rods, they're Easy Strike rods. They're available on eBay for about 10.5 bucks a package, and you can actually, last night I welded 1/4 inch steel with these things. Now, it's not pretty, but it works. This is just a simple setup. These are some old, believe it or not, power cords from a stereo setup, car stereo that I scrounged. The crimp connectors, little jumpers, and my ground clamp is, I got this at the 99-cent store. 4 of them for $1, 25 cents, and I just soldered the end of this cable onto this, and it works like a champ. What this is 4 12-volt batteries, 5 amp hours each. They're out of a power backup for a computer. I ended up, I got 120 of these things, and didn't pay a penny for them. Get these things at, you know, if you don't want to buy them, if you get, find somebody who's in the computer business, and they change them out. They change them out at hospitals, at businesses, all the time. And these batteries are perfectly good because they've been in a controlled environment and they've been charged. And out of 120 batteries, I had 1 battery that was weak. It wasn't bad, it was weak. But this company changes their batteries out on a regular basis because they're storing millions of dollars worth of data. And they're essentially, their business is, you know, being backed up by these batteries, so they don't want to mess with it. So you can get these, they're all over the place. You just got to know where to go. And be careful, that's 48 volts there. That's a lot of voltage. You don't want to touch it, it'll shock you. I haven't tested that theory, but you know, there's a lot of voltage there, so you don't want to mess with it. The nice thing is they're small enough that if you have a small solar charger, you can take the battery, pop it off, put your clips on it, and charge the batteries individually on a solar panel. And they don't the big trick is don't really deplete them. Take them down, 75%, or a little bit less is fine, but don't really deplete them. Charge them back up and use them. But, for doing mower decks, if you have a bracket come off and you just don't have access to a good welder, this thing will work fine. And all this is that is a 0.250 quarter-inch female. It's one of these, and this rod just happens to fit in it. And then what I've done is cut a little notch in here and just electrical taped it. And I've got myself, and it holds a strike too. So, okay, there's a couple of things I need to just discuss briefly. If you use car batteries, make sure that they're out and well ventilated, because they put off a gas, hydrogen, which is explosive, particularly if you're welding, so you don't want to do them in a confined area. 49.8 volts, that's with close to 2 rods, 1.5 rods. This thing will probably go 3 or 4 rods before they're significantly depleted. And again, this is not for building a ship or a utility trailer. This is simply for patching mower decks, cars. You can actually do this. Here is you can see that's a pretty serious weld. That looks like it was put on with a 1/8 inch rod. Anyways, this thing is going to be really handy out in the field. I'm kind of excited to have it. Well, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. Stay prepared, and God bless.